I believe that Phoenix is going to take them out.
I just don't see a lot of special.
Oh, I haven't seen much of Doncic.
Luka Doncic is one of the most talented players in the NBA today. But even as talented of a player as Luka is, he still had to fight his battles against the media. Even for a young player that is very successful and will be doing a lot more development than what we've seen, I think it's very interesting how the media has perceived Luka Doncic, because the media has said a lot of good and a lot of bad about Luka. This is every time Luka Doncic proved the media wrong. To set the stage, we're gonna have to go back last year when the Phoenix Suns were the best team in basketball. They were the one seed, Booker was playing like the MVP, we finally found Chris Paul back in his prime form for a while, everything looked good. However, there was a cause for concern when in round 1 of the playoffs, the Pelicans took the Suns to 6 games. Now you could have chalked it up to the fact that Booker was dealing with injuries, but regardless, there was a little bit of concern. But then we get to the second round where everything would change for Phoenix. Phoenix would take a 2-0 lead to start off the series and everything looked promising, and it seemed like they were going to steamroll past the Mavericks and meet the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, but you already know how this ends. But let's fast forward to Game 7. Now we're at the biggest game of the year for both respected teams. As people were dissecting this game and analyzing and seeing what was going to happen, this is what Stephen A. Smith had to say.
I believe that Phoenix is going to take them out in Game 7 on Sunday. I think I wouldn't be surprised if it's a rout. That's where I'm coming with this.
Man, this hurts as a Suns fan. To say the Mavericks won that game or blew out the Suns, I don't think I'd be doing them justice. And if you asked me, all this series really proved to me is that Luka Doncic is on another level. I find it fascinating that Luka Doncic is only 23 years old and he is consistently being said to be a top 5 player. And I'd agree with them. The skill set he has, his basketball IQ, the way he's able to affect the game, it's very intricate. But there's one person that has seen to be consistently doubting Luka Doncic for these past couple years. In fact, this dates back to the 2018 NBA draft when we were discussing the #1 pick. As you guys know, the Phoenix Suns would select DeAndre Ayton, and a lot of people feel like that was the right option, even though some were swaying for Luka. And as the years have gone on, people have said that the Suns made the biggest mistake of their life not taking Luka #1. Regardless, this is what Stephen A. Smith had to say.
The size, the athleticism, and the combination of all of those things with his gifts that you simply can't teach. I don't give a damn about how this kid in Europe looks. Important that the Phoenix Suns don't mess this up. He's right there in Arizona. He's right down the road. I don't give a damn about how this kid in Europe looks. I understand he's a 6'8" point guard. He's surreal. He'll probably be the #2 overall pick. DeAndre Ayton, there is nothing to think about. There is nothing to talk about. There is nothing to debate. There is absolutely nothing to consider. You have to take DeAndre Ayton with the #1 overall pick.
And if you think that's bad, Stephen A. Smith is not the only person that criticized Luka before getting drafted.
Than some of the other guys in this draft, and I'm not talking about Doncic, who apparently doesn't react well to pressure on the ball. No, not great if he's going to be a primary ball handler. No, I'm not talking about either one of those guys. I see guys with, at least in Wendell Carter's case, some offensive polish too. And in both cases, real offensive upside. I see much more of the kind of modern kind of star than I do in either Ayton or Doncic, to tell you the truth. Though I haven't seen much of Doncic other than the video that, that we've all seen.
Did he just say Luka Doncic? Again, you're starting to see some of these takes are really aging poorly. For one, he took back-to-back L's on saying Wendell Carter would basically be better than Luka Doncic and DeAndre Ayton. Believe me, I think Wendell Carter's a solid player, but even back then, I didn't see him having superstar potential. Also, you literally said you knew nothing about this kid besides one video. Look, if you're gonna criticize someone, at least watch some film on them. I have dissected players' games in the past and I've said negative things about them, but I either provide it with film or I give you a reasoning. And trust me, it's not very often I go after a player because I know fans of that player are gonna say that I'm a hater, even when providing a film breakdown. But I can promise you, I would never stoop to the level of Max Kellerman and say things about a player I know nothing about. And since we're here, let's throw in Colin Cowherd, who said some things about Luka before the draft.
I mean, he's better than Ricky Rubio, but he doesn't look special to me. He doesn't pop athletically. I just don't see a lot of special. The kid at Arizona,
he's got a shot.
There's a little Greek freak there. There's a little.
I think Marvin Bagley's interesting too.
Okay, now I would draft him #1. He's the Duke kid. Yeah. He is the one guy I would say, All right, that's my number one pick.
Look, as much as I love DeAndre Ayton, he's no Greek freak. And Marvin Bagley, where the hell is Marvin Bagley? Oh, and saying he's better than Ricky Rubio, but nothing pops out is the most casual thing I've ever seen. It's like me saying Ja Morant is better than Giannis because Ja does these crazy ass dunks. Yeah, Giannis doesn't do these crazy ass dunks and he's not trying to get on ESPN top 5 of the night, whatever. But if you watch his game and you see the way he plays, you know he is more dominant than just dunks. That is the equivalent of what Colin Cowherd is saying, because he's not athletic enough apparently, because he doesn't pop out to you, which again, it sounds so casual for you to say that. It's the same problem that Nikola Jokic has dealt with for the past like 3 years. Because his style is slow, because he doesn't do crazy crossovers and shoot from like 30 feet from 3, he's a boring player, and that's what it sounds like when Cowherd is talking about Luka. For one, that's mad disrespectful, and two, you sound like a fucking casual. But I mean, it's Colin Cowherd, so what did we really expect? And trust me, these weren't the only 3 that said something. There were countless people in the media. In fact, it felt like a vast majority of people were against Luka than for him. I remember everyone said that DeAndre Ayton was the surefire #1 pick, and as someone that was a media sheep back then, I could say the same. I saw all these shows tell me that DA was the #1 pick, and to be fair, I watched DA, but I didn't know anything about Luka. I'll give credit where credit is due. My dad is the only person that I knew that actually said Luka was gonna end up being the better player, and well, now here we are. And I gotta reiterate, it's not like DeAndre Ayton is just some bust and he's not a good player. He's still a good player. In fact, I think he can be an all-star level talent. But even Suns fans will tell you he's not a top 5 or top 10 player in the NBA, but Luka Doncic is. Now let's come back to present day, where Skip Bayless said that Luka Doncic was not a superstar.
I am about to launch about how dramatically you and Charles Barkley are overrating Luka Doncic. He is not a superstar by any stretch of the imagination.
If he's not a superstar, there aren't any in the NBA.
Okay, well then there aren't any left.
Okay.
As someone that has seen Luka Doncic tear my team apart and leave every Suns fan with PTSD, to say he's not a superstar is pretty insane. Also, we're not going to pretend like Luka isn't consistently averaging like over 30 points per game. This man is averaging 33, 9, and 8, and you mean to tell me he's not a superstar? Oh, and this wasn't like a year or 2 ago. This was literally last season. This was 7 months ago when Luka was still averaging the numbers he's basically having right now. The only difference I see in his stats from this season and last year is 5 more points. Wow, I undersold that. But even averaging 28, 9, and 8 is still pretty good. And I would argue those are superstar stats. Now, I have a feeling on where this actually stems from. As you saw earlier, a lot of people in the media said that there were all these things wrong with Luka, yet they didn't even watch the kid play. The fact of the matter is that NBA media does not like the progression of foreign players. It's a known fact on this channel that Giannis is one of the most disrespected players in the NBA. This is nothing new. I talked about this a lot last year, but Nikola Jokic is also someone that gets disrespected by the NBA media a lot. Even Joel Embiid has dealt with criticism, and now we're talking about Luka. Damn near half of the top 10 players in the NBA are not from here. I know he's not a top 10 player, but even Pascal Siakam is constantly being underappreciated by the media. Oh, and trust me, as much as the media is gassing up Victor Wembanyama right now, trust me, he's going to deal with criticism when he enters the league. The point I'm trying to make is that the media does not like international players. It's, for one, racism and xenophobia. You're more likely to see a bad game by Giannis than the fact that LeBron James is shooting 31% from 3. And on the contrary, if LeBron James walks outside and stubs his toe, you're going to see that more than Giannis's 40-point triple-double and win over this contender. And Luka is getting that treatment, even though he's on that level of great players. Also, I just want to say there are countless clips out there about media people talking bad about Luka, but I didn't want to make this a 30-minute video, but trust, I could have definitely done that. And each take for sure would have been dumber than the one before. There is legit criticism to have about Luka Doncic that I've showed in the past. What I find so funny is that the media is yet to talk about that. They either just said he wasn't going to be good in the league, or the fact that other players are better than him that aren't even on his level. Remember, Luka is only 23, and by the time he enters his prime, which will be 4 years, he's definitely going to deal with a lot more criticism than he is right now. And I'll probably have to make a part 2 to this video. Before the video ends, I want to give a shout out to Will Sochero, who actually made videos kind of like this. He did it for Giannis and he did it for LeBron, and I'm yet to see a good video on this about Luka, so that's why I wanted to make this. I'll leave Will's channel in the description below, but as always, man, fuck NBA media.
Niggas watching, I know giving no fuck if my crew getting paid. 30, my nigga got 50, that's 30 for 30 and 60 for 20. Back on the block when these niggas, they see me, they know we was dirty, but now we get money. We pulling off double law, a Hellcat, Lambo truck, say you niggas ain't ready. If you want smoke, yeah, my niggas on steady. Do it 160 inside of the belly.